There's a very specific kind of silence that sets in when a marriage is dying. It's not dramatic, not explosive. It's practical. It's the way Alexis brushes her teeth with the door closed now, or how she eats dinner in activewear and scrolls through Zillow listings like she's hunting for a better life. It's the silence between two people who know they're slipping apart, but neither one says it out loud. Probably because saying it would make it real. My name's Caleb Norwood. I'm 38. I'm from Indiana, and no, we don't all live on farms, but I do know how to patch a roof, balance a checkbook, and grill a steak better than most. I work in local infrastructure, specifically city inspections. I know every inch of this town, its pipes, its problems, its flood zones. But I didn't see this one coming. The leak in my own house. The one person I trusted above all else, my wife of 9 years, had been slowly pulling away like she was inching off a Band-Aid without waking me up. It wasn't always like this. Alexis was the kind of woman who'd leave little sticky notes in my lunchbox when I used to do site visits. Stuff like, "You're hot in a hard hat," or "Don't forget your sunscreen, Indiana Jones." She laughed at my dumb jokes. She watched every Colts game, even though she was born and raised in Miami and thought football was a sweaty chess. We had our spot on the couch, our Sunday rituals, our little inside jokes. And then, somewhere around year 8, she changed channels on me. Subtly. No big event. No tragedy. Just distance. Emotional. Physical. Like she was unplugging something one wire at a time. I tried to blame the obvious. Work stress. Her job got more intense. She's a marketing director for a regional chain of gyms, and the company's expanding, blah blah synergy, whatever. She travels a lot now. Conferences. Offsites. Client intensives. New lingo. New lipstick shades. New habits. She stopped asking me how my day was and started taking calls on the back porch. She says she's just busy, that I don't understand the pressure she's under, that it's her season of growth. I didn't know marriage came with quarterly reviews, but okay. I even asked if she was seeing someone. Straight out, just to kill the doubt. She laughed. Laughed like I was a child asking if Santa was real. That laugh stuck with me. You know what's worse than being lied to? Being laughed at for asking the question. I kept my mouth shut after that. I thought maybe it was in my head. Maybe I was getting too paranoid. Too needy. I started fixing things around the house that didn't need fixing. Painted the hallway. Reorganized the garage. I even installed a dumb little sensor on the mailbox that pings my phone when mail arrives. Because for some reason, the way she grabs the mail so quick now, it bugs me. That's where I'm at. I installed a mail sensor. I've become that guy. But still, I didn't act on suspicion. Because here's the thing. I don't believe in divorce as a lifestyle choice. I believe in marriage. In vows. In sticking it out even when it sucks. I didn't want to go snooping through her stuff. I didn't want to be the bitter husband creeping through drawers and browser history like some paranoid raccoon. So instead, I got clever. Not dramatic. Not accusatory. Just curious. Because something didn't add up. There's this one day, 3 weeks ago. She came home with a tote bag from a corporate wellness event in Chicago. Cute little freebie stuff inside. Aloe wipes, branded stress ball, some lame kale-flavored protein bar. All of it checked out. Except for one thing. A printed itinerary. Yeah, paper. Who prints those anymore? It had the hotel address, speaker sessions, even her name and title. All in one place. Very official looking. Almost too official. Like it was made for someone to find. But here's the twist. I noticed something weird in the session schedule. One of the sessions listed her as moderating a panel at 10 a.m. Saturday. Funny thing, she FaceTimed me that morning from the hotel bed. Full makeup, cozy robe. Said she was just waking up. Didn't sleep well, might skip the morning stuff. Even panned the camera to show me her coffee and croissant. Room service. So which is it? Hosting a panel or lounging in bed? I didn't call her out. I just played along. Said she looked beautiful. Told her to enjoy the free carbs. Then I screenshotted the itinerary and stuck it in a folder. I started paying attention. Really paying attention. I'm not going to tell you I knew for sure she was cheating. I'm telling you, I wanted to know. And here's the kicker. What I found out wasn't anything you'd expect. There was no lipstick on a collar, no baby I can explain voicemail, no best friend with a guilty look. No phone left unlocked, no receipts from a fancy steakhouse. Nothing obvious. No, what I found was better. Smarter. And the moment it all clicked, I didn't get mad. I smiled. Because now I knew exactly what I was going to do. 3 things I know for sure about my wife. She's terrible at poker, allergic to shellfish, and pathologically obsessed with LinkedIn. Not in the job hunting way. More like she treats it as her personal PR feed. Everything has to look polished, curated, upwardly mobile. I've seen her take 15 minutes crafting a sentence just to say she spoke at some virtual thing. Leading teams through brand pivots, or whatever the phrase of the month is. That LinkedIn habit turned out to be her Achilles heel. It started with the name Mason Lang. Never heard of him before, but his name popped up on our Roku screen one night, under recently used YouTube accounts. Alexis had been watching some dumb TEDx talk on our shared living room TV, and after she walked away mid-video, I went to queue up a football recap, and there it was. Not Alexis Norwood, 89. Not guest. No, someone named Mason Lang had signed in. Now, we don't have kids. No roommates. No visitors in weeks. And unless the TV started hiring freelancers behind our backs, someone had logged in using their own account. That name stuck with me. So the next morning, I do what any sane man would do. I search him on LinkedIn. Boom. There he is. Mason Lang, VP of Franchise Development at Cinecore Wellness, the same brand Alexis works for. Corporate smile. Navy blazer. Awful motivational quote in the banner photo. Strive not to be a success, but to be of value. Einstein. Of course. These guys love Einstein when they're full of crap. But what really caught my attention? His location, Noblesville. Our town. He's not in corporate HQ in Chicago or a field office in Tampa. He's here. And I had never, not once, heard her mention him. Not in passing, not in complaint, not even as a name on an email thread. That's odd, considering they're both high up in the same regional division. And then there's this, his activity tab. Public comments. Likes. Reposts. And right there, bold as daylight, he's been liking and commenting on Alexis's posts for months. Couldn't have said it better. Fire. Always raising the bar. Clapping hands. Team Cinecore is lucky to have your vision. Nobody writes like that unless they're trying to get noticed. I click deeper. He's reposted one of her team's activation campaigns, with a caption so fake I could practically smell the cologne through the screen. Honored to share space with innovators like at Alexis Norwood, driving change and crushing metrics. Crushing metrics. Okay, Mason. Still, none of this is proof of anything. It could all be just standard corporate brown-nosing. But my gut said otherwise. Because here's the other thing. I checked the metadata on the YouTube app. The Mason Lang account had been used on our TV 3 times in the past 10 days. You only log into someone's smart TV if you're physically in the room. So now I had a name, a face, a proximity, and a pattern. Time to test a theory. The next time Alexis left for one of her overnight trainings, I didn't ask questions. Just kissed her goodbye at 5:30 a.m. sharp like a good husband and waved her off with a thermos of coffee and a kill-it-out-there smile. She drove off in her SUV, Bluetooth already syncing to her favorite podcast, the one with all the buzzwords and soft piano intros. Purpose over panic, or something like that. I waited an hour. Then I called in sick. I'm the lead field inspector for the city, so I'm not exactly replaceable on short notice. But I told my manager the septic reroute inspection could wait a day. I had food poisoning and felt like a leaky faucet. He laughed and told me to go back to bed. Instead, I went to my laptop. And this is where it gets interesting. Cinecore's internal training calendar is accessible publicly. Well, partially. It's one of those employee event hubs they use to promote a sense of community. So I pull it up, filter by region, and sure enough, there's a listing, Leadership Boost, Regional Training, Wednesday to Friday, 3-day intensive, Chicago South Campus. Alexis said she was going to that. Said she was staying at the La Quinta nearby. Okay, sure. But here's the rub. Mason Lang isn't on the panel. He's not on the attendee list. He's not even tagged as staff. That's weird. I scroll further. Down at the bottom, buried under event details, there's a little note. Please note, the Noblesville branch office will remain open during this training. Local team leads will continue operating remotely unless otherwise instructed. Now I'm really curious. So I drive down to the Cinecore Noblesville branch. It's a glass and concrete box wedged between a failing mattress outlet and a CBD shop. Not much foot traffic. Definitely not a place you drive by and say, wow, look at the future of wellness. But the parking lot? It's got 6 cars in it. One of them? Alexis's SUV. Parked right out front. So I wait. I kill an hour pretending to look at overpriced CBD gummies next door. Then I walk back and take a spot on a bench across the street, half shielded by a dying oak tree and a badly angled bus stop sign. I know this is low-grade stalking, but at this point I'm not spying on my wife. I'm confirming a theory. Around 11:20 a.m., she walks out, laughing, hair down, not business trip hair, no blazer, wearing jeans and that leather jacket she said she'd outgrown professionally. And she's not alone. Mason Lang is with her. No folders, no clipboards, no company lanyards. Just two people heading toward his car like they're on a casual lunch date. He opens the passenger door for her. She gets in. He walks around, gets behind the wheel, and they drive off. I don't follow. I don't need to. I already know. She never left town. She never went to Chicago. She's not in a leadership training. She's in a relationship detour. With Mr. Motivational quotes. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why not confront her right then? Why not knock on the window and ask how the intensive panel is going? But no, I'm smarter than that. This wasn't about catching her in the act. This was about understanding the pattern. How long had this been going on? How many lies had she built into our daily life? And more importantly, what else could I use against her? Because now I wasn't sad. I wasn't even mad. I was planning. That's when I remembered something. A story Alexis told me a year ago, back when she still told me things. She'd mentioned a mentor circle group chat. It was run on Slack, and they used it to share resources, vent, and hold each other accountable. Back then, she asked me to help her set up her desktop Slack client because it kept freezing during calls. And I did. Like an idiot, I also clicked remember this device. Which meant, when I got home and turned on our shared desktop, she was still logged in. Slack popped open like a jack-in-the-box full of secrets. I opened the sidebar and clicked on Mentor Circle, 5 members. Messages loaded. I scrolled, and there it was, plain as anything, like watching a car crash in slow motion. Alexis Norwood. Guys, if anyone asks, I'm in Chicago this week. Just say you saw me on the virtual session. Mason's bringing lunch to the office, and I need to disappear for a while. I'll make up the hours next week. Shushing face. Another user. You wild. Be careful though. HR's been nosy lately. Another. Girl, you do you. Just make sure that man's worth the risk. LOL. I didn't need any more proof. Alexis wasn't cheating on me. She was managing her affair like a project. Scheduled. Documented. Soft-launched with select allies. I logged out. Closed the laptop. Made myself a sandwich and sat in complete silence. Not because I was stunned, but because now, I had all the leverage I needed. And I knew exactly what came next. The thing about having all the proof is you don't have to rush. When you know you're holding the winning hand, you don't throw down your cards too soon. You wait. You let them bet into it. Make them feel secure. Let them keep lying. That way, when the truth lands, it knocks all the air out of their lungs. That's exactly what I did. After I saw Alexis drive off with Mason Lang, I didn't follow. I didn't text. I didn't rage. I just went home, reheated leftover pasta, and watched the rest of the Colts game like nothing happened. Because as far as she knew, I was still under a blanket on the couch, battling the stomach flu. She got home the next evening, dragging her suitcase inside like she just walked in from a red-eye flight. I played my part, sniffled a little, told her I was feeling better, asked if her Chicago intensive was good. She said it was exhausting but worth it. Her exact words were, "I think I've really evolved as a leader this week." I nodded, told her I was proud of her. You ever watch someone perform a role they're not qualified for? Like a kid pretending to be a doctor? That was Alexis. Every word was scripted. She didn't even ask about my day, because she assumed I hadn't had one. That's how cocky liars get. They assume the story is so tight, so locked in, they don't even need to pretend to care. The next few days were normal, on the surface. We ate dinner. She scrolled her phone. I pretended to watch TV. She went back to the gym, claimed she had late calls, and I just kept nodding like a bobblehead husband. Meanwhile, I was building my moment. See, this wasn't about just confronting her. This had to be surgical, emotionally tactical, the kind of confrontation that left her staring at the ruins of her own confidence. I needed witnesses, so I invited 2 people over the following Sunday. My brother Jared and her best friend Madison. Madison, for context, is one of those support all women no matter what types. She once told me monogamy was a construct, but she also loves drama. especially when it's not her own. I knew she wouldn't be able to resist. Jared's the opposite. Blue collar, no BS, hates conflict, but he's always had my back. Even when he didn't like Alexis, he kept it to himself. He was the perfect anchor. We were having a casual brunch, as I told Alexis. Just bagels, some scrambled eggs, a little mimosa setup, nothing fancy. I even played music in the background to make it feel relaxed. Alexis came downstairs in her athleisure uniform, still acting like she was the picture of wellness and spiritual growth. She hugged Madison, gave Jared a perfunctory side hug, sat down like everything was fine. I waited until halfway through the meal, until she was mid-sip on her orange juice. Then I leaned back, smiled, and said, "So, Lex, how's Mason?" The glass froze at her lips. Silence. Jared looked up slowly. Madison blinked. Then she gave me a look like she knew something good was about to happen. Alexis set the glass down. "What?" I repeated, casually. "Mason, your co-star. From your fake Chicago trip." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Jared leaned forward, confused. "Wait, what's going on?" I didn't take my eyes off Alexis. "Lex, you were never in Chicago. Your car never left Noblesville. You spent your 3-day leadership training sneaking out the back of your office building with Mason Lang and pretending it was business as usual. I saw you. I have screenshots. And oh, your Slack mentor group is still logged in on our desktop. Say hi to them, by the way." Madison covered her mouth, halfway through a bite of bagel. Alexis blinked, once, twice. Then she went for the only card cheaters ever know how to play when caught off guard. "Offense. Are you spying on me now?" she snapped. "Spying?" I laughed once hard. "No, sweetheart. Spying is when you don't want to be caught. You used your little side piece's YouTube account on our TV. You lied about being out of town. You left your work chat open. That's not espionage. That's laziness." She looked at Madison, as if pleading for some sisterhood solidarity. Madison didn't move. So Alexis turned to Jared. "Caleb, this is insane. Are you really ambushing me like this in front of people?" "You're right," I said, leaning in. "It is insane. Insane that you thought you were pulling this off. Insane that you built a schedule around a guy dumb enough to leave his name logged into our TV like he was checking into a Marriott." Her lips parted again, but she didn't speak. She didn't have a script for this. Jared just looked at me, then her, then back. "So you've been cheating?" Alexis crossed her arms. "I made a mistake. But I haven't." "Don't," I said sharply, dropping the smile. "Don't insult what little intelligence we have left between us. You lied to my face. You used company events as cover for your affair. You had your friends lie for you. This isn't a mistake. This is a full-time job you've been working after hours." Madison, now fully entertained, muttered under her breath, "This is better than cable." Alexis stood up. "I'm not doing this. Not in front of them." "Sit down," I said quietly but firmly. "You don't get to walk away. Not until I say what I came to say." She stayed standing. But she didn't leave. I took a breath. "You cheated on me. Not just with your body, but with your time. Your integrity. Your effort. You put more energy into hiding this relationship than you ever put into saving ours. And that's the part one can't forgive. Not the act. The investment." She opened her mouth again. I held up a finger. "Not done. You treated me like a placeholder while you shopped for upgrades. And you did it with the arrogance of someone who thought I'd never notice. But I did. I noticed everything. The lies. The tone. The weird energy shifts. And I let it play out because I needed to be sure. Not just of what you did, but of who you really are." Now her arms were trembling. "Good. And now that I know," I looked her dead in the eyes. "I want a divorce." Madison let out a little gasp like she was watching a TikTok fight live. Alexis looked like someone had taken a baseball bat to her ribs. "You're serious?" she said, voice barely audible. "Oh, I'm dead serious," I said. "But here's the kicker. I'm not gonna scream, beg, or throw things. I'm not even gonna ask why. Because I already know. You were bored. You wanted to feel important again. Mason made you feel shiny. And he's welcome to you." She sank back into her chair like the wind had been knocked out of her. I stood up. "We'll sort the paperwork through the lawyer. I've already got one. You'll be hearing from him Monday." She stared at me, speechless. Jared cleared his throat. "You good, man?" I nodded. "Yeah, I'm good." Then I turned to Alexis. "Thanks for brunch." And I walked out. The day after the confrontation, Alexis moved through the house like someone living in a museum exhibit of her own life. Careful, quiet, no sudden moves. We weren't speaking, and the silence wasn't awkward. It was surgical. I slept in the guest room. She didn't ask why. She knew. She knew the air had changed. That every word, every glance, was being documented in my head like I was a stenographer at the world's most polite implosion. I didn't waste time. That Monday, my lawyer, Adam Becker, a guy who's about as warm as a parking ticket, sent her the initial paperwork. Nothing theatrical. No extra salt. Just clean, legal detachment. Alexis tried to act surprised. She texted me from the kitchen while I was upstairs. Really? A lawyer already? That was fast. I didn't respond. She followed it with, "We should talk. Please." I left her on read. Because talking wasn't part of the plan. See, revenge isn't about yelling or slashing tires. Revenge is quiet, subtle. It's about understanding what the other person values and calmly taking it away. Alexis didn't care about money. Not really. We made a similar income. She was always more concerned with perception. Her world was built on optics. How she looked to the boardroom. How many likes she got on her career growth posts. The illusion of control. So I hit her where it counted, her reputation. She thought she could compartmentalize her affair with Mason Lang like it was just a bad habit she'd eventually quit. She didn't expect it to follow her into her job. But it did. Let me explain. You remember that Slack thread she left open? The one where her little mentor circle cheerfully covered for her lies? Yeah, I screenshotted all of it. Not just the part where she asked them to lie about her fake Chicago trip. I dug deeper. I found weeks' worth of messages where she casually referenced dodging hours, clocking Mason under someone else's travel code, even borrowing company card access for wellness meals that were probably just sushi runs with the guy while I was home tightening pipes and pretending my marriage wasn't leaking. There was enough in that thread to raise eyebrows. And I knew just who to send it to. Tanya Reese, Regional HR Director. Mid-50s, wears statement necklaces and talks like she's narrating an audiobook. More importantly, she was Alexis's boss's boss. The kind of woman who responds to risk the way a cat responds to a vacuum. So I packaged the screenshots into a neat, anonymous PDF. Labeled it, Potential Ethics Violations and Time Card Misconduct, CenterCore Wellness Regional Ops. No name, no return address. Just a digital dead drop. I created a burner Proton mail and sent it from a library Wi-Fi. Within 48 hours, I saw the first crack form. Alexis came home early from work. Not dramatically. No tears. Just early. No explanation. Said she felt off. I waited. Next morning, she didn't go in at all. Working from home, she said flatly. By the following Thursday, she was sitting at the kitchen table in sweats, staring blankly at her laptop, chewing her nails, something she hadn't done since her first year on the job. I walked past her on the way to the fridge. She didn't look up. Perfect. But that wasn't the only play. See, while Alexis had been cultivating her little secret garden of infidelity, I had been quietly building a financial life of my own. Over the years, I kept our finances simple. One joint account for bills, separate checking for discretionary. But what she didn't know was that 3 years ago, after she casually mentioned we shouldn't rely on one income, when things got tough, I'd started moving my annual bonuses into a separate savings account at a credit union she'd never heard of. Just a little each time. Nothing crazy. A rainy day stash. By now, it was up to nearly $22,000. And that rainy day had arrived. Because when I served Alexis the papers, I also made sure the accompanying financial disclosure listed that account as personal pre-divorce assets, which they technically were. Gifts, bonuses, and overtime, all pre-divided. She wouldn't see a dime of it. It wasn't illegal, just strategic. She'd have to rely on her own money now. But the last piece, the real move, came 2 weeks later. She had an invite-only conference she'd been hyping for months. A big industry thing in Denver where she was supposed to moderate a panel on leadership transparency in corporate wellness. Yeah, the irony wasn't lost on me either. She flew out like everything was normal. I acted like I didn't care. Let her go. While she was gone, I changed the locks. We owned the house jointly, but I'd already filed for temporary exclusive use during the proceedings. I had a restraining clause built into the motion. Her name wasn't on the utilities, and she'd moved out officially, per her own signed affidavit to the court. That was a mistake on her end, filing residential address change documentation for her friend's condo to protect her privacy from HR inquiries. Legally, She had vacated the property. So I rekeyed everything. Then I packed up her remaining stuff, clothes, toiletries, files, and boxed it up neatly in the garage. I even labeled the boxes. Closet 1, desk drawer, bathroom left. When she got back, she pulled into the driveway just as I was raking the yard. Casual. Calm. She rolled down the window. What the hell? I took off one glove. You don't live here anymore, Lex. You're kidding. Nope. Your boxes are in the garage. Keypad's been changed. You can schedule a pickup. I'll be here Tuesday between 6 and 8. She got out of the car, incredulous. You're throwing me out? No, I said. You left. I'm just closing the door behind you. You can't do this. I already did. She looked around, like someone was going to pop out and stop me. But nobody came. Nobody cared. You're seriously just done? Lex, I said, walking toward her. I didn't set this in motion. You did. You treated our marriage like a detour. A pause between personal upgrades. You made me the intermission in your one-woman career show. But now, you get to be the lead actress in your own collapse. Congratulations. I turned around and walked back to my rake. She stood there for a full 30 seconds. Then she got back in the car and drove away. Did I feel vindicated? No. I felt clear. That's the real reward of revenge when it's done right. Not satisfaction. Not ego. Just clarity. The kind that lets you sleep at night knowing you handled it like a professional. She never saw it coming. And she'll never recover her footing. Because I didn't burn the house down. I just took away the key. She texted me 5 times before I agreed to meet. That's her style. Don't call. Don't apologize. Just start with polite little probes like it's a calendar request. Can we talk? I'd really like to clear the air. This doesn't have to end badly, Caleb. End badly. It already ended. She just didn't feel the earthquake because she was too busy throwing dinner parties on top of a fault line. But I finally agreed. Not because I owed her anything. Not because I wanted closure. Let's be real. Closure is a lie people use when they want to hear the other person say sorry in the perfect font, with the perfect background music. No, I agreed to the conversation because I wanted control of the last word. And because I knew she needed something from me. We met at the city park. Public place. Neutral. No ghosts in the walls like the house we used to share. I picked a bench near the pond where they stock trout every spring, even though nobody ever catches anything but algae and disappointment. Seemed appropriate. She was already sitting there when I arrived. Hair down. Civilian clothes. No corporate blazer. Just jeans and a loose sweater like she was auditioning for a comeback tour no one asked for. Hi, she said when she saw me. It was small, almost apologetic. I sat down on the far side of the bench. So, a beat. I've been thinking a lot, she began. About everything. I said nothing. Let her fill the silence. I know I handled things badly. I know I hurt you. But I need you to understand. I didn't plan for any of this to happen. You didn't plan to cheat? I asked deadpan. That's impressive. Because it looks like a very organized operation. Her face tightened. I'm serious, Caleb. So am I. She looked at the ground. I was lost. I'd been unhappy for a while, but I didn't know how to say it. And Mason, he just... Don't, I said. Don't say his name like he's some kind of emotional paramedic. You didn't stumble into him. You scheduled time for him. You used fake trips. Fake alibis. Group chats. You covered your tracks like a criminal in a heist movie. That's not lost. That's logistics. She exhaled through her nose. Fine. You're angry. I get it. I'm not angry, I said. I'm indifferent. Which, for someone like you, is probably worse. That stung. I saw it. Caleb, I'm trying here. I'm trying to own this. I need you to hear me. Please. I looked at her. Really looked at her. She didn't seem sorry. She seemed disoriented. Like the version of herself she built in her head, put together, ambitious, desirable, had been quietly dismantled while she wasn't watching. You want to be heard? I said. Okay. Talk. She shifted toward me, hopeful. I think part of me sabotaged things because I didn't think you really saw me anymore. I almost laughed. No. I saw you, Lex. I just didn't recognize you. You changed. You became curated. Everything was a performance. The house, the career updates, the stupid quinoa bowls, the workout gear for coffee runs. You stopped being my wife and started being a brand. She flinched. That's not fair. It's exactly fair, I said. You kept feeding this image of growth and ambition and female empowerment, but underneath it, you were miserable. And instead of talking to me, your husband, you found a guy with a jawline and a LinkedIn quote, and you gave him the version of yourself you used to give to me. I didn't love him, she said, quick. I looked at her. Worse, you respected him, at least for a while. She didn't answer. And that, I said, that's why there's no coming back. Because love can survive distance, but respect? Once you give that to someone else, it's over. Tears welled up in her eyes. She looked down at her hands. I've lost everything. I didn't reach for her. I didn't soften. She needed to feel this. Really feel it. No, I said calmly. You lost me. The rest? That's just consequences. She wiped at her eyes, but the tears didn't fall. You know what hurts the most? Don't say hurts the most, I said. You don't get to use phrases like that. You had every tool, every chance. You chose this. I miss the life we had, she said quietly. No, I corrected. You miss the safety of the life we had. You miss knowing someone would always be there even if you stopped trying. You miss the guy who brought you soup when you had the flu and bought batteries for your wireless mouse even when you never said thank you. You miss comfort. That's not the same thing as missing me. She shook her head. You think I'm heartless. No, I said. I think you're selfish. And I think you got bored of being with someone who knew the real you. That landed. I let the silence sit. Then she tried again, softer. Do you think, maybe someday we could be friends? I turned to her, completely still. No. Her lips parted, almost surprised. Never. Never, I said. You don't get to be friends with the person you betrayed. That's not how it works. That's not healing. That's you trying to stay relevant in a life that's moved on without you. She looked away. For a long time, neither of us said anything. Then she stood up, slowly, like she was trying not to crumble in public. I guess this is it, she said. It's been it for a while, I replied. She gave a little nod. The kind you give when you finally understand that the door isn't just closed, it's locked. From the inside. And then she walked away. No hug. No dramatic goodbye. Just a woman realizing, too late, that the thing she abandoned had already replaced her with peace. I stayed on the bench another 10 minutes. Watched a kid throw a rock into the pond and scare a duck. Then I got up, went home, and never looked back. It's been 4 months since I last saw Alexis. I didn't mark the date. I'm not that guy. No candles on a shelf. No hidden playlist called The End. No symbolic bonfires with old t-shirts. The day she walked away at the park, that was the last time I thought of her as something still tethered to me. She exists now the way an old job exists, something you remember doing, but can't imagine returning to. The divorce finalized 2 weeks ago. Clean. Simple. No alimony. No drawn-out mediation. Just a 37-minute Zoom call where 2 lawyers traded paperwork, and she tried to avoid looking at my little rectangle on the screen. She didn't speak. I didn't need her to. I signed. She signed. And it was done. Our old house is mine now. She tried to fight for a buyout, said she was emotionally attached to it, which was rich coming from someone who used it like a hotel suite between strategy sessions and coffee dates with her side project in khakis. But the judge didn't bite. Turns out, when you fake a relocation and ghost your own mortgage, courts don't see you as much of a stakeholder. So I kept it, stripped it down, got rid of the stuff she picked out, the minimalist prints, the white-on-white pillows, the coffee table books no one ever opened. The house breathes better now. Feels less like a showroom. More like something built to hold a real life again. I even painted the walls. Navy in the hallway. A deep slate gray in the bedroom. Not because I was reclaiming the space. I hate that phrase. But because it finally felt like I could. Like I had permission again. There's a lot of that now. Small freedoms I didn't realize I'd given up. I cook what I want. Watch what I want. I started reading again. Real books, not just Reddit threads and contractor manuals. Even started going for walks after work. No step goals. No podcast. Just me and whatever's left of the day. Funny thing is, I'm not angry. People expect that. Friends check in like they're afraid I'm going to spiral. Jared offered to set me up with someone from his office. Said, you got to get back out there, man. As if healing is a race. But here's the truth. I'm not broken. I was in a marriage that died quietly. And instead of dragging it out like a bad reboot, I let it end. I didn't try to negotiate with the fire while the building was still burning. I got out. And I'm fine. Actually, I'm more than fine. A few weeks ago, I ran into Madison. Yes, that Madison, at the grocery store. She looked me up and down like I was a different species. You look good, she said, half confused. Divorce agrees with me, I replied. She smirked. She's not doing great, you know. I didn't ask who she was. Didn't have to. She moved out of her friend's place, Madison continued. Guess the work stuff caught up with her. Rumor is, she might be job hunting. I just nodded, tossed a bag of oranges into my cart. You're really not curious? She asked, as if she couldn't fathom it. No, I said. I already watched the whole movie. I don't need to read the deleted scenes. She laughed, then said something about getting lunch sometime. I told her maybe. We both knew it meant no. It's not that I hate her. I just don't need her orbiting my peace. That entire friend group, that whole shiny world Alexis built. I'm done with it. Let them keep their curated selfies and leadership brunches. I'm not interested in pretending anymore. You know what I've realized? Marriage doesn't fail all at once. It fails in whispers, in passive okays instead of real conversations, in choosing not to ask questions because you're afraid of the answers. It dies when one person decides that loyalty is negotiable and the other one's too exhausted to fight for the fine print. Alexis made her choice. Mason probably seemed like an exit ramp from a life she thought she'd outgrown. Maybe he was. But that ramp led her straight into a dead end. As for me, I'm not chasing some big transformation arc. I'm not going to Bali to find myself. I'm not journaling or meditating or growing a beard and posting cryptic quotes on Instagram. I'm not learning to love again or buying a motorcycle or downloading dating apps where everyone's bios sound like LinkedIn posts in disguise. I'm just living, taking it one morning at a time, making good coffee, showing up to work, building things that last, fixing what's broken when I can, and walking away when I can't. It's not glamorous, but it's honest. And after years of living next to a stranger who wore my last name like a necklace she could take off whenever it clashed with her outfit, honest feels like gold. I'm not waiting for anyone to complete me. I'm already whole. And maybe, just maybe, I was never the one who needed fixing. Subscribe to the channel